In this lesson, we're going to talk about ambient occlusion for 3ds Max. As you can see, I have my base mesh in here, and it has the diffuse map, preliminary diffuse map applied. And so the first thing I'm going to do, come right up here to rendering, render to texture, which brings up my render to texture options box, or I can simply press 0 on my keyboard. Now you can see, because I had my object selected before I brought up the menu, that male head, the object that I want to apply the ambient occlusion, is already included in the objects to bake list. Now the first thing I'm going to do is right up here under output, I'm going to choose the location and the file name of my object. So I'll go ahead and put that in the location that I'm working. And I will name that male head ambient occlusion max. Okay. Now under render settings, I'm going to choose metal ray and click load. And if I want to adjust my other render settings, I can simply click the option, the setup option from this particular box. Objects and output settings. If you have presets, you can load them here. The next thing we want to check is use existing channel under mapping coordinates. We'll be applying that to the current channel, which is 1. And here in output, we want to click add and ambient occlusion down here. Add elements. Alright, right down here under selected element common settings, click enable. You can see the name is ambient occlusion. And the file name, you can name that here. I'm going to leave that as is. The target map slot will be using the diffuse color. Background color is fine. Right down here is where we set our resolution. I'm going to bump that up to 512 by 512. And 16, the default samples. You can up the resolution here if you choose. And we'll just get a basic map out to test. Bake materials, save source is fine. Let's see, these other settings, automatic mapping. That's fine. We want to make sure there's a light in the scene. So what we're going to do is come here to the create panel and lights. We're going to select on standard and skylight, and we're going to drop a skylight into the scene. Alright, scale this a little bit so we can see the bottom. Alright, so now let's go ahead and render. And the light is showing in our scene. Alright, as you can see, we've got a rendered map. And it has the color information in it, as well as the baked in shadows. And you can see that's applied. Now it is kind of grainy in here, I see, so let's up the sampling to 128 and render that again. Overwrite the file. And I can see already we're getting a much more refined map. Alright. Now in order to apply that map, we will come over here to the material editor, and in the diffuse channel of our current texture map, right here, we'll come in here and find our map. Alright, you can see that preview there with the shadow information on there. Alright, let's apply it to our model. You can see there's a little bit of wonkiness here, which will need to be fixed, but other than that, it looks like a pretty clean map. And from this point, what we'll do is go ahead and go back into Photoshop, and on another layer we'll place our ambient occlusion and apply that with a multiplier over our color channel, which will allow those to live in the same map and avoid an additional render pass. Alright, additionally what you can do, put this away, is come right up here, add complete map. If you know that it's going in the same channel, come down here and render that. Overwrite. Take a few moments to render that. Okay. And now you can come up here to the diffuse channel material editor again and go ahead and apply complete map. Which has the color information and the ambient occlusion within the same map. Seeing down the center is because this map was not appropriately laid out prior to this demonstration, but you can see the quality of the map on this particular model. Looking at one side of it. Now we'll want to adjust some information here and render that at a higher resolution in order to get a nice clean map. However, I prefer to render out the ambient occlusion separately so that you can adjust the saturation of that particular map over the diffuse map in Photoshop. You have a little bit more control over that, so that if you don't like these really dark areas on him, that you can adjust that in the actual map. Alright, so here I am in Photoshop with the diffuse color map, and I have on another layer applied the ambient occlusion. And you can see if I come right here and change this to multiply, it'll overlay that, and I can adjust the impact of that map right here in the fill percentage. Now, many times a game team will opt to do textures on just half the body and share that UV space, but if you're doing ambient occlusion and higher resolution characters, as this one is, it's not advisable because you will get seaming, the appearance of seaming down the center. Oh, that concludes our ambient occlusion simplified for Max, 3ds Max 2011.